All right, welcome to another episode of Dr. Bertetta's Beginner Guitar Theory. I'm Dr. Bertetta, and I'm here in the living room, Austin, with Sean over here to my right, the founder and brain behind the living room, Austin. So this is our second episode of Beginner Guitar Theory. Last week, we began the series with a lesson called Learning the Fretboard, a lesson in intervals. And so today we're going to continue that discussion, and just to kind of review what we discussed the last time around, one of the things that I think is of utmost importance in learning the guitar and in learning, say, the fretboard, is the understanding of intervals. And so just as sort of a rehash, I consider intervals as kind of like, it's the relationship between notes. A more technical definition would be the distance between notes. We can think of them as different relationships. Again, from last week, some of them get along a little bit better, sound better together, whereas others sound kind of nasty, like they don't get along. Okay, so and I also introduced you, if particularly for those who are beginning to learn guitar, different shapes, simple shapes by which to find the different notes on the fretboard. And so, for example purposes, we use what's called the C major scale. So if you think of the white notes on if you think about the piano, we're only talking about the white notes. And so, just to kind of review some of those shapes, we have what's called the fourth interval, and I'm just going to be here on the fifth fret of the sixth string. That's an A note, okay? And right below that, on the fifth fret of the fifth string, that's a D, okay? So that shape is the fourth interval, just the same fret, one string below. And that works from 6 to 5, from 5 to 4, and from 5 to 3, okay? And so what we do there is just count up 4 notes. A, B, C, D. All right, that's the fourth. From D, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again, fifth fret. On the fourth string, we have G. Okay, so on and so forth. So I can find the fourth note from using that shape anywhere on the neck, except, and this is kind of what we're going to focus on today, the third and second string. Okay, so here, this is a fourth interval, but it's not the same shape. I'm going fifth fret, third string, sixth fret, second string. And I'll talk about why that is in a little bit. But so we have that shape, okay? If we stay on the fifth fret and move up 2 frets, so now I have my index finger on the fifth fret, sixth string, and my, my ring finger on the seventh fret, that shape of the fifth string, that is going to be your fifth. So again, A, and here we have E, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so again, I can find the fifth note in a scale. If I know, say, my root, I'll know what that is, okay? Another interval we looked at was the third. And so this is, if we take the fourth, again, same fret, two adjacent strings, and we bring the fifth string back 1 fret this way, okay? So we kind of have this diagonal shape. Sixth string, fifth fret, fifth string, fourth fret. That is the interval of a third, okay? And so again, I can find the third by using that shape. And note, it's just 1 half step below the fourth, okay? 1 fret difference between the third and the fourth, just like we talked about last week, okay? So you'll know, if again, my suggestion is, you practice this, use these shapes, On my Facebook page that I have dedicated to the YouTube channel, there are some diagrams that you can download for free. And if you want to take a little self-test to test your knowledge of the intervals and the notes, you know, it's free to you to use. But what happens when we skip notes, say, again, a whole step is when you're going to skip a fret and you're going to go up 2 from any note. Those are all whole steps. What we're doing is skipping over a note, okay? Again, to use the piano as an example, these would be your sharps or flats, okay? They kind of refer to the same thing. They're a black key, but say this is the note G. I go up 1 step. I can call this G sharp, or since the 5th fret is A, I go down 1 step. It's the same note. I can call that A flat, okay? And those are called enharmonic equivalents. So G sharp is the same as A flat. C sharp is the same as D flat, okay? So again, for our purposes last week and this week, we're only concerned with the white notes, all right? And as we move forward, you know, make more sense of how you can apply the shapes and the understanding of intervals to knowing then these sharps and flats, okay? So much for review. Last time I couldn't remember where my eraser was, and I'll try to remember not to put the pick in my mouth, but whatever. So we're done with that, all right? So now we're going to move on to discussing the shapes that apply to the 3rd and 2nd strings. So last week, if you remember, we talked about the tuning of the guitar, that from the 6th string to the 5th string is a 4th, 5th string to the 4th string is again a 4th interval, 4th to the 3rd is a 4th. Things get a little different though when we go from the 3rd to the 2nd, all right? That's where things change up. So instead of being tuned to a 4th, they're tuned to a 3rd. So this is going to alter the fingering a little bit, or it's going to alter the fingering from what we learned on these other strings. So again, if we kind of stay on the 5th fret area here as examples to learn those same intervals, okay, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. If I'm using the shape that we learned up here that I was calling the 4th, or that is called the 4th, and I use that shape on the 3rd and 2nd string, that interval is a 3rd, okay? So here I have C. Dogs are barking. And Sean, go ahead. You can go through the front. Sean's got to go take care of his doggies. They're barking. So 3rd string, 5th fret, I have C, okay? 5th fret, 2nd string, I have E. So if we're following this, again, C, D, E, okay? C, E. And since, as we talked last week and just a little bit, a couple minutes ago, the 3rd and the 4th are only separated by 1 fret. So here is my 4th interval. So here I have another kind of a little diagonal shape, okay? 1 string down, 1 fret up to find your 4th when we're talking about strings 3 and 2. So a whole step separates the 4th from the 5th. So if this is my 4th, this is my 5th, okay? And this is the note G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So here's these 3 shapes. Again, just straight down, 2 adjacent strings on the same fret for the 3rd. I go up 1 fret on the 2nd string for the 4th, and from there I go 2 frets up from the 4th to the 5th. Okay. So again, this applies for the 3rd and 2nd string. So what about the 2nd to 1st string? Well, then we return back to the upper 4 strings. Okay. And as a bonus, so what that means is basically, again, this shape is going to be the 4th. This shape is going to be the 3rd. Again, the diagonal backwards, you can say. And then up here is going to be the 5th. Okay, like. same intervals. As a bonus, since the 6th string and the 1st string are tuned both to E in standard tuning, if you know your notes on the top string, the 6th string, you automatically know the notes on the 1st string, okay? I know, really? Interesting, fun stuff. So, again, my suggestion to really kind of ingrain in your head, because it's going to help you become a better guitar player, is to learn the notes of the fretboard and learn the intervals, okay? And learn how they relate. A good thing to practice is to try to sing the intervals. So bear with me. But if we start on C, I'm going to stick with this scale here. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can try to sing them so that you get the sound of those intervals ingrained in your head. Now, for me personally, gets into what is called ear training. I think I've gone beyond being able to learn ear training very well. So if you're a young guitar player, I really want to emphasize trying to learn ear training. And so that gets your ear used to the sounds you're hearing. So you can, you can hear it in different songs. You can understand what they're doing. Me, I have a hard time with ear training personally, but I'm working on it, all right? But again, one way to really kind of practice that is the singing. So here, using, say, A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm getting that sound in my head. Okay, so 2nd and 3rd strings, we got that covered. Now I want to talk to you about inversions. Inversions when it comes to intervals. Inversions are a way of understanding intervals when the 2 notes are, say, flipped, okay? So actually, it would probably be helpful to use this. I just knocked my stand down. So let's say I have my E here, okay? We'll use the 5th interval. So I call this a 5th interval, or a 5th, because I'm considering the A to be my root, all right? We can forget about these here, but I'm considering A to be my number 1, yeah? So, as we just learned, the E here is 5, okay, as it relates to 1. But what happens if I, say, wanted to make E to be my root, okay? Well, what's the relationship between E to A? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So E to A is a 4th, whereas A to E is a 5th. So when we say E to A as a 4th, that's an inversion of the A to E. Okay? And it works out really easily. Very nice, actually. And it's easy to learn and memorize. So what we're going to do here is just, again, look at the basic C major scale, white keys on the piano. So all of these, I should say, since we're talking about intervals and the relationship between notes, we should really kind of look at it like this. C to E, C to F, C to G, so on and so forth. You get the idea. All right. So C to C is just, it's an interval of 1, and it's oftentimes referred to as a unison, all right? And we'll save the inversion for that in a little bit. C to D, since it's a whole step that separates the two, that's called a major second, okay? But if I go from D to C, that interval, and we'll talk more about this in a moment, okay, is called a minor 7th. Okay, C to D is a major 2nd. D to C is a minor 2nd. A minor 7th, excuse me. C to E, major 3rd. All right, C, D, E. The inversion, so E to C is a minor 6th. Now let's look at what's going on here. 2 things. What do 2 and 7 add up to? Hopefully you said 9, and you'd be correct. All right, well, what about 3 and 6? Same thing, right? All right. So, C to F is what's called a perfect fourth. When we get to the fourth interval, they're called perfect intervals. Same with the fifth. I know there's a reason why it's called perfect, but I don't know. But when we get to the fourth, so what would be the inversion of a perfect fourth? We would have a perfect fifth. All right, 4 and 5 equal 9. So to fill this in, we have the inversion of a perfect fifth is a perfect fourth. Inversion of a major sixth interval, so like C to A, that is a major sixth, but from A to C is a minor third. Major 7 to the inversion of that is a minor second. All right. So if you know the interval, you know its inversion if you can subtract from 9, all right, or just add 2 numbers and get to 9. The unison and the octave, again, it's the same, all right. The inversion of the octave is a unison, and the inversion of the unison would be an octave, okay. And it's just going C to C, just saying, you know, C, C, same fret, same string, or going up an octave. Same note, different string, okay? So, we note here this language, major and minor intervals, all right? And as we, move forward in future lessons, we'll talk a lot more about major and minor intervals, particularly when we get to talking about chords. So, what I've been teaching you so far are, as we see here, they're all major intervals, okay? C, whole step, D to E, E to F, half step, F to G, whole step, G to A, whole step, G to B, A to B, whole step, and then back to C, okay? Half step. So these are all, this is the major scale, okay? And so we learned, the third interval that I showed you earlier is this diagonal shape, right? So if I'm on, say, C, third string, 5th fret, and E, second string, 4th fret, that's an interval of the third, okay? But that's a major third. To make it a minor third, I have this shape. So now I'm going down 1 fret towards the head, okay? So now I'm hitting a flat note or a sharp note. This is D sharp or E flat, okay? So major third, minor third. And this is particularly important when we are going to get into learning scales and learning chords. But if we were to take some more examples of these minor intervals, last time we saw this shape. Okay, I'll do the octave again. So 5th string, we're on A here. 5th string, 6th string, 5th fret, and 4th string, 7th fret. Those are both A. Okay. As we learned last time, and I just went over, the 7th is 1/2 step away from the 1 or the 8. So this is the interval of a 7. So to make it a minor 7, I move it back that one way. I flatten it 1 fret. So now I have a minor 7th interval. And this is big in like the blues and stuff. So this is a regular A chord. But this is incorporating that minor 7th sound. Hear the difference? Okay, that's that minor 7th. Now, 1 step away from the minor 7th is the 6th. We saw this last week too, and again, you can look at these diagrams on Facebook. But if I flatten that 1, I have a minor 6th. Okay, so intervals we have been learning and talking about last episode and here reviewing are all major intervals. So all the shapes I've been showing you are using major intervals. But if you just take a major interval and flatten it one note going this way, you create a minor interval. And again, that's going to it's going to be particularly important when it comes to scales and chords. And so I hope you learned a little bit more about intervals and how to find the notes. When it comes to moving from the upper four strings to the third and second. Okay, strings, again, the fingering is a little different. All right, practice trying to find the notes. And on the Facebook page too, there's a little self-test that you can take, all right, to see. And you can always, look at things online. You can find these things online. But I think rather than just, reading them and memorizing them, try to apply what I've been teaching here, what I've been talking about, and really try to understand it. And that's going to help it ingrain things in your mind a little bit different. So, next episode, we're going to start talking about scales, okay? Particularly this scale here. And so, again, thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep rocking.